Here we have a used 2017 Chevy Bolt. Now, this Bolt comes in the LT trim level in Arctic Blue Metallic. And then we do have black and gray cloth interior. We have a front mounted electric motor. And this Bolt in particular only has 19,238 miles. As we come to the front end here, we do get our LED daytime running lights along with our HID headlamps. Nice look there. Reminds me of the Nissan Leaf, but I won't get into that. Here we have 17-inch aluminum wheels. Charge port here, we can either charge with a 110 volt or a 240 in that plug there. Now these used to be DC fast charge capable as an option, so I don't think this one has the DC fast charge option on it. That's why we can't get to that port. But we get passive keyless entry on all four doors, power door lock controls, power mirror controls, rear window lock. We have one touch down on all four doors and then express up and down on the driver's side. Headlamp controls. We'll take a look in the hood or underneath the hood. And then we also have a manual tilt telescoping steering wheel. And there's our manual driver's seat there. But I have that seat up front adjusted for someone of my size, being 6'3" with longer legs. So a quick look at the rear leg room. Pretty good for a vehicle like this, and the headroom is okay. Have an inch or so rear seat pocket on that right side. And then the middle seat does not fold down, but I do like that we have the nice giant hooks to hang our shirts that are nice and sturdy on both sides. Let's go ahead and make our way towards the back. There's our back end there, excuse my shadow. And then here is the cargo space, chargers right here. And then we do have a little storage underneath here where you can have your inflator kit and whatnot. And then we also have that sunshade there. I don't know why I tried to pull on it. But big shout out to Chevrolet Buick GMC of Murfreesboro for allowing me to review this Bolt today. I'll leave a link below in the description if you're interested in purchasing, but just hit this latch here, fold that seat down flat. Pretty easy to make more space in here, and it's easy to pull up or down. And then I like that we have that same manual adjustability for the front passenger side as we do the driver's side. So we are able to actually pump the seat up and down. Also adjusting the seat back and the seat bottom. And tons of storage, glove compartment. And I like the trim there. It reminds me of the Bolt. Just with it being, well, wanting to be futuristic. When the Bolt first came out, it really was, because there wasn't a lot that you could really compare it to, but now we're kind of used to futuristic stuff in our vehicles. But there's that front mounted motor, a lot going on there, but it's not making any noise. So let's hop in the driver's seat. So we have the hard plastic steering wheel. Like the horn sound though. Don't know if that's all authentic. Feel like it was coming through the speakers, but nice sound anyway. And then over here to our screen, we do get AM, FM, XM along with Bluetooth. And we have an aux input as well as USB ports. There's a home page there. We can cut our heat on and whatnot. And then also go through our temperatures. And we have the controls here for auto mode. We can turn that off by adjusting the fan speed. We can adjust temperature, and it shows you right there. So singles on automatic climate controls, not bad. And then defrosters are here, hazards, sport mode toggle, traction control toggle there, volume, click there to mute. We can go through radio stations or tracks depending on what audio source we're in. I mean, pretty straightforward. And I like that we have our charging right there. It's just a nice setup, I think, for this system, nice and simple. And then the backup camera's there. Guidelines follow as you turn the steering wheel. And then here we have the shifter, so we can just hit this button, pull down for drive, tap for low, pull all the way up, hold for neutral, and then put in reverse. Do that. Press P for park. Electronic parking brake, pull up to engage, hit the brake, press down to disengage. The back over here, I love this area. You can have a handbag, a small Very small backpack, like a camel pack, that'll fit in there perfectly. And then you have the 12 volt there, and then a little pocket there. Now for your USB ports and the aux input, those are right in there. So you can plug them in and just leave your phone in there. And then you do have center console cubby space, top tray, and then it's pretty deep down in there for that bottom storage compartment. There's a view of the back seat from up here. Lights are there. And then there's the mirror. No light for the vanity mirror, but no biggie. Blinkers are here. High beam toggle there. We can flash here. And then windshield wiper controls, one time, off, intermittent, low, high. We can adjust the intermittent there. And then the rear wiper, intermittent on. And there's off. Push back for the rear wiper fluid, pull up for the front wiper fluid. And over here, cruise controls, we can turn that on or off, cancel, adjust the speed, and then we can go through our radio station favorites and it'll pull up right there. That's what those buttons are for. And then voice recognition, mute button, and we can also use these arrows to go through our gauge cluster if we so choose. So if you want to change the layout of the gauge cluster, you can do that. And if you also want to go through your options, go in here, and you can adjust the speed warning, the help, change your units from US to metric. A lot that you can do in there. But I like to go to the vehicle info, and then I can kind of see what's going on there. Tire pressure sensors, average speed, all of that there. Push button start, I love the illuminated button. Finally, here's the key fob, and we do get remote start here, which is pretty sweet on an EV if you want to preheat the cabin. But next, let's go ahead and take this 2017 Chevy Bolt LT out on the road for a test drive. So starting the test drive in this Chevy Bolt EV, pretty peppy, and it can get away from you because, well, not in a bad way, but the front tires love to spin just because it's a front wheel drive vehicle. So as you're turning the tires and you're giving it throttle at the same time, you can make a little noise there. So in the normal drive mode, it does a pretty good job at being efficient, just how the pedal feels and things of that nature. But in the sport mode, you get a very ruthless acceleration curve there. So I'm gonna put in the sport and kind of show you what I mean. And just watch the speedometer. So certainly getting up to speed from those lower speeds, you will feel the tires kind of pull away from you. As you get up higher in terms of your speed, the pull isn't as exciting, I guess, but where it counts from a stop, it'll get you going. Now I do like just how easy this is to drive. Just where the shifter feels like a normal car, the steering feels like a normal car. Everything just makes sense. So if you're going from just a normal gas powered vehicle and you get behind the wheel of a Bolt, it's not necessarily like getting behind the wheel of a Tesla. And I think part of that's just because GM made cars before they made electric cars. So they weren't necessarily trying to reinvent the wheel. But I mean, the ride quality is good. Specifically for an EV, it's very good. And again, just the overall driving dynamics are nice. Wind noise is not terrible. I can hear it. But honestly, the road noise is unnoticeable. As I'm getting on this off-ramp, it kind of gets loud, but that's to be expected. And I'm in the low mode, low gear, and that's kind of your regen drive mode there to maximize that regenerative braking. Now, part of the good thing about, I guess, the EV market going up, and then kind of slamming down is one of these is relatively inexpensive for what you get. Now, you want to make sure that you're able to get some sort of extended warranty or just know what it is when you're buying an EV, because the batteries can be expensive to replace nowadays, but I'm sure that'll change in the future. And just like this one has 19,000 miles, so the battery I don't know the condition that it was necessarily kept in, because you kind of like to let them cycle every so often and discharge kind of close to zero, just so all the cells stay running, if you will. But I mean, this one still has a pretty good range left on it, I think. And especially if you want something that's very efficient, and again, something that you can get relatively inexpensive compared to how much it was new, this is a pretty good option. With EVs, what makes them so practical for me is electricity in Tennessee is much cheaper than it is in most other places, I think. And just where a lot of people don't want to go to electric vehicles, just for the stigma, I think, mostly. But then also just not being sure of the future, not being sure of the battery's necessary life. It just makes it easier for people like me who like EVs, who drive EVs, even a plug-in hybrid, I have one of those. It just makes it easier for me to find charging stations, less expensive for me to put electricity in my vehicle as opposed to gas. And I love just being at a red light and not being afraid to just accelerate with my pedal to the floor. You're not necessarily worrying like, oh, I might thrash my engine over time, or oh, this is burning a lot of gas, because you're like, whatever. So I like the Bolt. I like EVs, but it's just my preference, so I wouldn't want to push that on anybody. But definitely cheaper to operate than a typical gas-powered vehicle, except maybe a Prius, and that's just because of your upfront costs. But with all that being said, this will bring me to the end of my review of this 2017 Chevy Bolt EV in the LT trim level.